Currently, I'm a lawyer working at an organisation called Hive Legal as a consultant, and it's a law firm that's quite innovative and rethinking the way legal services are offered. So I'm doing that on a part-time basis, and I'm also undertaking a number of board and committee roles as well, and I'm hoping to expand in that space. When Brian and I worked together, I was an executive director. In fact, I became an executive director while I was working with Brian, and general counsel at a funds management company called Vanguard Investments. I worked for the Australian branch of that organisation, which is an American-based funds management group with about $2.6 trillion under management altogether. So at the time Brian and I were working together, I covered Asia Pacific. Undertaking the Donovan Leadership coaching program really gave me a lot of insight into what I wanted myself out of my career, what I wanted to do outside of my career in terms of extra activities, and probably gave me a way of thinking about things that opened a whole lot of new doors up, quite frankly. They were probably things I wouldn't have thought about had I not been undergoing the program. I advanced within the organisation at the same time, but also probably grew the courage to make a few decisions about what I really wanted to do. And now I stayed for a very long time after Brian and I worked together, but ultimately I think it was a bit easier to make the decision to change, having had his input and just thinking about my own career progression more objectively while working with Brian. One of the things you tend to do when you're caught up in a busy executive career is that you're always working on your job. You're task-oriented to an extent. You're looking at the strategy of the business all the time, but you're never looking, or at least in my case, I wasn't looking at the strategy around my own career progression. I was too busy doing it to think about it. You take the time to think about the business. We all do that. You don't necessarily take the time to think about your own career progression. Some people do, and that's great. If you don't, like me, you can really get a lot of benefit out of stepping back. Even if you are good at thinking about your own career progression, you need somebody to talk to about that. And Brian's program, which was very structured, enabled a great deal of constructive thought to go on and planning within a really safe framework. I think after undergoing the program, I was in a far better position to think about what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, how to communicate with some people. We worked through some real examples of management issues at a time when our business was going through a heck of a lot of change and a lot of turnover at senior level, So we were working together in an unusual context at an unusual time, and I managed that, I think, a whole lot better because I'd been working with Brian and I was working with Brian. And then, as I said, came out of it with a better sense of how to plan. I'm really glad that I went through the program with Brian, who was strongly recommended by a couple of my colleagues, each of whom have also made really firm, clear, informed decisions about what they wanted to do with their own careers. And it's been, I think, worthwhile for all of us. It sort of, I don't know, steps you from here to here in the way you think about your own impact on the organisation, within the organisation, elsewhere, but with this overriding sense of what you get the biggest buzz out of, what you get the most satisfaction out of, and what makes you happy in what you're doing in your day-to-day life with work. Because let's face it, you spend a heck of a lot of time at work. You may as well enjoy it.